see if there's a point to it. Even the cowboy one, I had another one at the museum that was bright blue and bright green. And that one I wanted to do very monochromatic, greenish grays, you know, so it's like singing in different tones. Yes.
Go back to the door, I just want to have your abstract, the figure there
Yeah.
in the woods. I mean, is it light and shadow, but then all of the, but I get confused about it. How do I determine what that visual approach is?
Oh, such a good question. After you understand them all, you just toss them in the trash.
That's totally fair.
So, in that case though, it's shape, it's still shape. Shape is the dominant thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, on the figure, there's light and shadow.
Yeah.
You can see shadow and light form on it. But the rest of it, I just wanted to use, there's an equalization aspect to the shapes that are playing, but variety of it. And there's also very strong patterns of local tones, just flat value shapes playing around. There's a rhythm in it. But the important thing is to connect her to that and not make it look like I pasted her on a different concept. But that's right, in a good painting, there should be one dominant visual approach, or an idea of where you're going with all this. And then the rest are subplots. Okay? Good question. You almost got me. What else did I talk about? Yes, ma'am.
Of the picture where the girl is standing in the wood with a green skirt,
Yeah.
could you show us with your hands or your fingers, just all the shapes in there?
Oh, yeah.
This is a shape, this is a shape, this is a shape.
This is truly a light and shadow painting, right?
Yes.
Everything, when you glance at it, you should recognize right away, there should be no confusion as to what's in the light and what's in the shadow. Even with variations. So squint your eye way down at it, you'll see that this is as far as I'm pushing my light dark. I'm pushing it dark enough, but it still reads like light because the shadows around it are always darker, see? So let's just look at her for once. Here's the light, right? Can you see that? That's light, so all of this is shadow. All of this is shadow, even the detail in that. But the light is really clear, and that light is connected to this light, right? And you can go back and the light gets really intricate to where it becomes little dots, little small shapes. They're not dots, they're shapes. Right? And each one, I'm aware of each shape that I'm making is not random. And people have asked me, I want to learn to paint loosely like you do. Like how do I get looser? The only way to get looser is to be aware that you're painting shapes. Because I can make a shape with one brush stroke, wide, small, little, or I can make a bunch of really expressive brush strokes within a larger shape. I'm seeing that, you see? I'm constantly describing shape, that's all it is to it. So out to here, this is all the light shape, this is all shadow value. You see how they sit next to each other? If I crop the painting here and here, ooh, that's kind of cool. You see? I looks like a Jordan Wolfson painting. Actually, if I cropped it like this, I really see how it just like this. You can see the light and shadow in it, can't you? Right? You can see it. So anywhere that I crop, I should not lose that essence. Does that make sense? And this one's different because if I crop this down here, it becomes more like a Jackson Pollock or something wild like that. And then if I crop this here, it could become more like a Diebenkorn, but it's not as clear as how he would light up his shapes. But this shape all the way down. But then it's really interesting to do a painting like this to me, whereas if the rock goes brown, and then I can infuse it with some other subtle shapes. So there's so many ways to do it. I'm so confused. I just love all of it. So I feel like this whole show and the museum show I just had the last 2 years felt like I was doing paintings with somebody with the hand on my back just pushing me along. Like, yeah, pretty good. Don't stop now, keep going. Next one. And it drove me a little bit crazy, but so I'm ready to just relax now and just do paintings and let it take as long as it wants to. So I'm hoping for that next. Yes, sir.
When you're learning art, how much time do you spend now absorbing new knowledge through reading books, listening to people, and learning things, versus exploring it on your own and reflecting on that? And has that changed over your art career?
Wow, what a great question. I'm open to see, with the internet as it is now, you can absorb new ideas like that, right? I'm seeing images come up, and you can learn something. I've had a few epiphanies along the way that happens in 5 minutes. I've had workshops where I can change a person who's been painting for 20 years and not see something, right? And I could point that out, and it changed her in 5 minutes, and she went phew, like that. I saw that happen with Ron Hicks one time, and Kevin Westbach too. He was relentless. So I'm not really looking for new ideas. I'm open to new things that might inspire me to think differently, and that happens a lot. But knowledge is when you realize that it all comes down to those 5 basic visual elements. That's all you've got to work with. You can just start there, go into your studio, and the point is making shape, right? And then even challenge that idea. What if I don't make shapes? Good luck with that for a while. But try it, right? And so for me, I have a pretty clear understanding, but I haven't explored all the possibilities. And so that's what I'm interested in, But there are so many great podcasts being made, so many great artists teaching online and giving lectures that you can absorb so many great ideas. But the important thing is to go in there and explore for yourself what excites you, So, yeah.
What is your process? Like when you go picking mushrooms, do you carry a sketch? What is it that you bring with you to then arrive at the painting?
I used to take a sketchbook and do spot stuff on location all the time. I don't do that much anymore because now with my iPhone, it's my third eye. It's like, oh, there. But if you gave me a photograph to paint from, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't feel anything. So I have had to have been there, feel something for it, want to say something about it. Then the photograph is great for me because it takes notes for relationships and things. Process with painting, it depends on the concept that I have going on. Like this painting over here started out so much fun. It's so freeing. Anything goes, and colors I never would consider using. And I just let it just make a soupy mess out of it. And then start to find something that I can grab onto, and then that's kind of, but for something like this, I never draw this. If I do a figure like that, I will mass in the proportion of the figure, and then I just make it happen. So I draw with values and not lines. So there is no one way to start with the process. This is such a good question because I had my last show in 2020, there were some large landscapes. And I was sent down to West Virginia to do a lecture and a talk in the fall. And I'd never been to West Virginia in the fall, and it was stunning. It's just as stunning as you can imagine. It's so deep and rich in color. And I drove around all day. I had my paints in the back, and at one point, I got out and I set up to paint. And I looked out and was like, wow, I'm going to spend all day painting this thing. What's the point of that? I have one little shape. And I put my stuff away. I wandered around in the state park all by myself for the entire day. Sat down on the stump, and I was stunned at how beautiful and rich and varied. I mean, you can walk, and like I said, 1 square foot was the leaves are that thick. And the amount of shapes and colors and texture within 1 square foot was amazing. And I was like, I felt like I was on drugs that day. It was weird. The colors and the texture. And I realized that was the best thing that I could have done because I took photographs of that day, of the thing. And then when I went back home, I didn't want to do small paintings. I wanted to do large paintings of my experience. And had I done that little sketch, I would never have done that, So I went back and I did these big, and it was so great. And I've sold a number of them, which is really cool. So that confirms following your hearts. You know what I mean? So the sketch there. Now, having said that, if I had gone back now and did little sketches, just some color notes and whatnot, that would have been very helpful too. But I like that. With enough experience, I could paint what I felt and be more free about it. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I love that. As if we haven't known each other 40 years. 8 years ago, approximately, you met Adrian. She's such fabulous colors. Has it changed your, I mean, what did it add to your art? In the sense of coloring and being a colorist, becoming so close to a person, did it affect the way you see through your eyes differently than you did before you met her? And
yeah, she made me realize I was dull and lifeless. That was not far from the truth. I thought I was pushing it, I wasn't pushing it at all. Her sense of color is amazing.
I know, she's phenomenal.
Yeah, she doesn't even try. It's just like it's how she sees naturally. Like how could you paint like that? So so definitely has helped me to see that hey, I've got a little more room in this envelope to push. So it's really fun. But yeah, I don't know why I've always been so inspired by subtlety. I'm a subtle person, I guess. And she's not like a flamboyant person by any means, but her sense of color is so wonderful. It's always so vibrant, and it all works together. What's beautiful is that they're different every time. They don't look like she's using the same formula,
Well, the reason why I asked the question is the still life out there that you talked about, the bright colored one that's on this wall. It just reminded me of the richness of her colors.
I wouldn't say that was because of Adrian.
No, but I mean just that
Yeah.
crispness of.
Well, I told her even when we met, like, I haven't explored color at all because I'm trying to work out all these other problems. But seeing her do that now, and I see the great colorists like Diebenkorn and Van Gogh. There's a guy named Ewan Uklo, English painter, wonderful colors. And Wayne Thiebaud, they do such beautiful things with color, and I realized I've just been thinking about other things and not color. So I'd love to venture into that. But if I do, it'll be different than the way Adrian uses it to in a natural state. But I want to explore it like that Healy's painting there. I want to make it more like Japanese painting. I don't know. I don't really know what it's going to be like. If you've ever seen a Richard Diebenkorn retrospective, I never understood what his Ocean Park series was about, which is just verticals, horizontal, a few triangles. I love his organic paintings until I saw the retrospective and like, oh, I see why. Because in his early days, he was looking for shapes, and he would make these organic shapes work with each other. Then he put the beautiful paint on it. At the end of his career, he was more interested in the subtle value shifts and color shifts and textural shifts. So he got rid of the equation of making complex shapes by just moving the verticals and the horizontal in such a way that they're interesting. And then he just played with color shifts. It's so great. It's so purposeful, and it's so beautiful. And you look at his work and you think, oh, I could do that. No, you can't. I've seen many artists hurt themselves trying it. So that's why he's so wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful. He's right up there with any of my top favorites I can name. But my dearest artist I love the most is Andrew Wyatt. And he is such an enigma because he's the greatest virtuoso, maybe his greatest sergeant with watercolor. And he does things that I'm thinking, that's not humanly possible. It's not possible. But more than that, his vision for the painting is always absolutely supreme. He sees beyond just the subject. He sees the structure of the thing and what he does to abstract it down to get the feeling that he wants you to have with it is just amazing to me. I've never stood in front of a painting and have tears in my eyes, except for a Wyatt. It just makes you feel it that deeply. So that's an interesting thing to talk about too, because your work is only as great as how you felt about what you want to paint. So, anything else? Yes, ma'am?
I just want to answer your color palette. Do you start a painting with like a palette in mind, or do you build it as you go, or how does that manifest in
okay, there's the palette on my palette, the physical paint, or the palette of the particular painting. There's two different things, right? So I have a set palette that has pretty universal, from the earth tones to cadmium yellow, deep, light, and medium, then cadmium red, orange, then alizarin crimson, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, and viridian. Some basic stuff like that. If you look at my wife's palette, they're insane colors. None of those, she doesn't even use the cadmiums really. She has these greens, turquoise green hue, whatchamacallit. I don't even understand any of that. So she uses a whole different chroma. But my palette are those, and then from there I do all of these different ones. You know what I mean? So but she's teaching me something. Like I don't have to do that. I might pull out some weird combination of colors and see what will happen next. I just haven't explored it. That's a good question. Okay, you want?
Some of your, like Liam, is a lot more organic shapes. And then when you look at the peaches and you look at some of the nudes over there, there's a much more graphic linear shape. Like I love the stripes with the different color on the girls back here. When you make the decision, because I don't see those, in Liam he's very soft and smooth, but in the peaches it's very
Yes.
geometric.
Yeah, even.
When is that decision made in your painting? Do you start with that, or does it just evolve into that?
Yes. Because I didn't intend for that to happen with the peaches.
Okay, I love those, they're so sexy.
Oh, thank you. I really like this. This is
That's
one of my favorite
amazing.
things to show too. But it didn't start like that, Kim. It started, for some reason I have this weird love for fruit on the branch. I drive by a fruit tree and I want to slam on the brakes. I don't know why. They're so beautiful. And the peaches with the fuzziness, and I paint them in a very naturalistic way before. But as I was doing this painting, I started to use a palette knife, and then started to make these little sharp marks, these kind of vertical marks, and that became like a visual theme.
Oh, it's
And then, so I just, as it becomes a theme, then I follow that theme throughout.
so
you
the
see.
apples didn't move in that direction.
Not at all.
Not at all. But the woman, do you know the woman I'm talking about with the like the different delineation of flesh tones along her arm? And they don't follow the contour of the arm, they're actually perpendicular and it works. And I just don't understand how it works.
Well, whatever happens, I gotta make it work.
Okay. Because it's almost like pixelated.
Yeah, right. It became like a little,
Yeah,
it's different ways of talking.
yeah.
And I
So
love
it just comes out and you just follow it.
Right, yeah. It develops. Sometimes I don't start with that concept. Sometimes as it goes, like this one did, it led me to paint. And once that started to happen, then these shapes were put in at the very end to make sense of the entire mass of peaches. But I was lost in this painting for a long time before that happened. So things happen along the way to inform you. But I love an organic painting. Like when I get that still life is like that. Everything is flowing and organic. But then
That's what's so neat about seeing your organic painting with then all of a sudden palette knife or that pixelated look to it on top of it. It's like, whoa, that's shocking. So it's
But that's why
exciting.
you need to own one of each. I'm kidding. Kim's a dear friend. We go way back. Well, thank you so much. What's that?
I just want that one.
Really?
Yeah, take off a couple zeros and I'll take it.
I love that. I almost didn't put that in because I thought, well, who's going to understand what I'm doing there? Because I'm a little nebulous about it, but it looks great on that wall, I have to say. Okay. It actually makes sense to me more than I thought it did, actually. I worked on that for almost a year. It was down in there was a video I posted in the early stage where Liam was barely 2 years old. He had a pacifier in his mouth, and he was painting on the bottom of it. I don't know if you saw it. If you're on Instagram, it's a really cute video. Yeah, I left a lot of it down there. He's sucking on his.
More because of the Indian red above it. Do you think that grounds it for you?
What?
The beam, the Indian red beam was above it, the red. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like that grounds it. So do you know what I mean?
The metal beam above it?
Yeah, I just that contrasting.
Gosh, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. So I need a burgundy frame around that.
Or just a red wall.
Actually, I kind of like the idea of just if I were to hang this painting, I may mount it on a hard board so that it's protected, but just allow the drips to show.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
it's a
absolutely,
And more and more I'm thinking, I don't need frames around some of these, and just let it be. So that's, I think I would love to have a whole show next of paintings that hang like that, without any frames, just, because there's a spontaneity and a thing that happens when you're doing it that you're not thinking about, and it's really raw, and it's always so wonderful, you know, and then it needs a frame, but not really. I actually sold a painting about that big on canvas to a guy who's gonna hang it in his home in Paris, which is cool, apartment in Paris. And he said, no, don't frame it, I want the drips. I'm like, okay. So it's kind of about that size. Maybe that's the next show that we'll do. It's a Wild West show.
So we're gonna put these in the sort of stuff show, or
The horses?
what's the name of the course?
Yeah, the course show.
Cougars, yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. I would love to put the cows in there if they're still around. The horses here actually had been in the horse show a number of years ago, and then I put it away and I brought it back and reworked it. So now it's sort of a new painting.
What's the name of your racehorses?
Yeah, so after I did these horses, again from that ranch, I spent 4 years painting, ranch horses, and I sold every one of them. And then the people at Keeneland Racetrack in Kentucky saw one of the horses. They have this auction called the Sporting Art Auction, and so they invited me to go to Keeneland, and they had an old historic cabin that I stayed in for 3 days, and then I got to see the race horses in the barns and the practice, and they are so beautiful. I didn't realize how beautiful they are. It's like looking at the athletes versus these guys look like couch potato bearded dudes, because their bellies are big, and those horses were trimmed and beautiful, and they brushed to a shine, and so I got to see that, and I did 2 paintings for them, and at that auction they broke all my records by them 3 times or something. It's really fun, but so I'm still, that's just one little offshoot of what I do, so not bored with it, but there's just not enough time in the day. Does that make sense?
Or night.
Or night,
Or night.
yeah, I'm up to 2 in the morning.
I bet.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, but I think that covers for the most part.
When's your next show?
Oh, God.
All my friends are going,
I'm not committing to anything for a number of years. probably.
Number of years? Like, I know you're gonna take time off for the holidays.
Well, no, I want these paintings to grow. Now they've really, to me, if you have a chance to do one masterpiece in your lifetime, what would that painting be if I went to a museum and saw it of my own work? What would that look like? And I don't know. I think I'd like to have a chance to see what that would look like, but I don't know what that would look like.
I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Do you think you'll know, or do you think time will tell?
I will know when I see it.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll tell us.
Probably. Yeah, no, I think you can tell. I think maybe not when I was younger, but so Tim Newton, who's a wonderful friend, and he was the head of the Samagundi Club, and he directs a lot of shows around the West. He came to the museum. That show was shown at the Kerrville Museum of Art, and he was giving talks to the audience, and he said, "That room over there, that painting is the best thing that's been done in American art in 100 years." He said that to the audience. I don't believe him, but it was such a sweet thing for him to say. Yeah, so, well, I did work hard on it, and I was never happy with it. Even to the day I sent it to the museum, I wasn't happy with it. Yeah.
As an artist, sometimes you're just never happy. You're just like,
Yeah.
I don't wanna let it go. I'm gonna do more and more and more.
Yeah. Or what's the quote? That a painting's never finished, just abandoned. It's a good quote.
That's a good one.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Thank you. Is there anything else?
Everybody else goes.